So it's the end of May 2025, and you know what that means. Well, okay, I guess you probably don't. Not yet, anyway. But what it means is I've got another monthly market update to share with you. And today we're going to take a quick look at the Ocala, Florida housing market for the month of April. No spin, just the cold, hard facts and what they say about the trends that I've been seeing locally. And hey, I get it. Market updates aren't exactly binge-worthy content, and most times they're downright snoozeville. But if you're even thinking about buying or selling in the next couple months, it's probably worth your time to stick around, and I promise to make it as painless as humanly possible. Because numbers matter, especially when it comes to buying or selling a home. Hi there, I'm Stephanie Frost, and in case you haven't guessed, I'm a real estate agent here in the Ocala, Marion County area. And if you're new to my channel, welcome! And don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you leave. And if you've been here around a while, well then thank you and bless your loyal heart. I appreciate it. Now, in case you wonder why we're going over the month of April when May's darn near over, well, that's because we don't get a lot of the data until well after the month is through. But even though we're always looking at the stats a month behind, it still gives us a pretty clear idea of what's going on and where the market's probably headed. So without further ado, let's see what's happening in the Ocala, Marion County market right now. And yes, in case you haven't noticed, the market is shifting. Maybe not dramatically, but most definitely noticeably. First up, month supply of inventory. And this is arguably the most important indicator of what kind of market we're in. Right now, we're sitting at about 5.5 months worth of inventory, same as we were in March. And that means if no new homes hit the market starting tomorrow, it would still take nearly 6 months to sell off everything we got. So we're still officially in neutral market territory. Not quite a buyer's market, not quite a seller's market, just kind of, well, floating in the middle, dangling our toes in the water. But I will say that right now we're kind of floating near the edge, hanging on with our fingertips. A good stiff wind could push us right over the edge into a buyer's market territory. Hadn't happened yet, and honestly, I don't think it will based on what I'm seeing. But I will say that it's not out of the realm of possibility in the future. And it may only be a far outside possibility, but still one we probably ought to consider just in case. Because we have a lot of available inventory right now in Marion County. We hit in with 4,626 active property listings in April, which is a teensy-weensy dip from 4,678 in March. But that's still a whole lot more inventory than we had in April of last year, when we only had 3,411. And that makes a 35.6% increase over last year. And as far as brand new listings that hit the market in April, we had 1,215 new listings come on the market. And that's up 1.7% year over year from April of 2024 when we had 1,195. So again, not a huge difference, but still worth looking at. And while we're talking about inventory, here's a bonus fun fact for you. 998 homes went under contract in April, which is a drop of 7.6% from the 1,024 new listings that we had in March. So not a major shift, but still enough to notice. No big deal, right? But what makes this number really significant is that with those 1,082 new listings in April, but only 998 pending sales the same month, the number of new listings is outpacing the number of pending sales. So not only are we not making a dent into the existing number of available listings, we're actually adding to them every month. Right now, we're in a fairly balanced market, but if this trend continues, and it looks like it may, the inventory will likely continue growing, shifting leverage even more towards the buyer side of the equation. Now, in April, we had just over 880 closed home sales, also a slight dip from March when we were at about 942. And again, it's not a dramatic drop by any means, but it's definitely trending downward. And overall, closed sales have dropped 8.9% year over year. So we're looking at a continuing pattern of declining sales activity. And sad to say, that's been evident throughout the early part of this year. So if it feels like you got more competition as a seller, well, you do. Which is why it's more important than ever to price your home correctly for the market the first time. And make sure that puppy is absolutely ready to go the first day it hits the market. This is not a market where you're going to get a lot of second chances to make that first impression. And if you're a buyer, congratulations! Your options are opening up like the Golden Corral buffet. But don't get too comfortable because homes are still selling in just about 54 days on average. So no, it's not a total free-for-all. If a home is clean, priced right, and looks good in person, it's still moving and probably moving pretty fast. Think of it like musical chairs, but with nicer countertops and flooring. So don't sleep on that perfect home because the next buyer is probably wide awake and already writing an offer. And who am I kidding? Don't sleep on that almost perfect home either because the absolutely perfect home probably isn't out there. It's rare that you don't have to compromise something. You just need to know in advance what you're willing to compromise on. But sellers, take heart. There's some good news out there for you too. In April, homes were selling at 95.5% of listing price. So buyers are still out there and they're willing to step up to the plate when it comes to making offers. And even though that was down a tad from March when homes were selling for 95.8% of original list price, it's not exactly a huge drop. And it fits in with everything else that I'm seeing, which is that there's still a strong demand for housing locally. Buyers are making strong offers and sensible sellers are meeting them halfway. Nobody's getting everything they want, but nobody's walking away crying either. Because remember, the whole point of putting your home on the market is to actually sell your home, not to just post pretty pictures and let everybody see how nice it looks online. But one thing is crystal clear, and that's that those days of pie-in-the-sky prices are over, and they're probably not coming back anytime soon. At least not unless something drastic happens, like, say, eliminating property taxes here in Florida, which, if it ever happened, would probably have a dramatic effect on the market. But I'm not really counting on that one, and regardless, it certainly hasn't happened yet. So for now, you just got to work with what we have, which is a pretty even market. Price it right, present it well, and your home's going to sell. But shoot for the moon, and you'll likely get stuck in orbit, spiraling down and down and down as gravity takes its toll. But keep your pricing strategy down to earth, and you'll be just fine. How's that for a metaphor? And you can expect to be on market just a little bit longer before going under contract. Properties are taking significantly longer to sell, with median time to contract jumping to about 55 days, which is another indicator that buyers have more negotiating power and are being more selective. So right about now, you're probably wondering about home prices. With all these market changes, are they climbing or dropping or what? Well, this is where we get a little more good news. The median home sale price of $278,000 was virtually unchanged in April. So we're showing some serious price stability, even with a shifting market. No big spikes, no big drops. I mean, it's practically boring. But in real estate, boring can be a good thing because it suggests that underlying demand is still supporting the current pricing level, meaning that the market's not overheated and we're not in free for all either. We're, well, balanced. And yes, as always, cash sales are still a thing here in Ocala. In April, about 34% of our sales were cash deals, up a few percentage points from March and down from a few months before that. But traditionally, our market runs about 35% cash sales, so that's pretty much on par with historical numbers. We've always had a pretty healthy secondary home market, and that doesn't seem to have changed much. Now, for a little historical context. If you've been watching the local market since 2021, you've seen the roller coaster that we've been on. But regardless of market, one thing has always held true here locally. No matter what type of market we're in, historically our home sales dropped to their lowest level in December and then climbed to their highest point again in April. So if the trend continues, and there's no real reason to think that it won't, then sales are going to start slowing up next month, in May. And they're going to continue slowing till the end of the year. So you're going to want to check back this time next month to see what happened and see if we're on the same course as usual, or if maybe this is the year we buck the trend. So now that you've got all the facts, what does it all mean? Well, if you're a seller, this is still a good time to list, but you need to be smart. Price it right, present it well. The days of throwing any old house on the market and watching the offers roll in are behind us. But if you've got a great property and the right strategy, you'll still do really well. But try to double your money if you just bought last year or even the last couple of years and you're in for a rude awakening. Not going to happen. So be sensible and be prepared to negotiate. And maybe don't wait too long to list your home for sale. Prices aren't dropping like a stone, but they're not climbing like a rocket either. If your agent tells you that your dream price is too high for the market, well, don't expect to wait until next year and get it then. Because currently home prices are still rising year over year, but ever so slowly, currently less than 2% per year, and it looks like even that might be slowing down. So you're not likely to get a huge price bump by waiting. And you'll also have a whole lot more carrying costs by next year, meaning that you're going to net even less on the sale if you wait. And if you're a buyer, you've got more homes to choose from and more room to breathe. More options, less competition, and more than likely the ability to negotiate a little. You might not get a total steal, but you're not battling 12 other offers either. You'll be able to find the right home at a price you can live with. So bottom line, we're not in a screaming hot seller's market anymore, but we're also not in a full blown buyer's paradise. It's a transitional market, which means that pricing, presentation, and negotiation skills matter more now than ever. And look, I've done my best to explain all this gobbledygook in plain old English. But if you have any questions about what any of these numbers mean for your specific situation, or if you're ready to sell your home or buy a new one, shoot me a message, give me a call, or heck, send it over by carrier pigeon if you want to. I'm flexible. And I'm pretty easy to find, too. So until next time, take care and maybe don't wait too long to list that house.